I said the word sorry for the last time on my 93rd birthday. My daughter-in-law had just told me that the way I seasoned my greens was too much. And I opened my mouth to apologize like I had done 1,000 times before. But the words stuck in my throat like dry bread, because suddenly, after 93 years of apologizing for taking up space, I realized something that should have been obvious decades ago. I had nothing to be sorry for. I am Beatrice Louise Washington. I am 93 years old. I was born in 1930 in Birmingham, Alabama, to parents who taught me that survival meant making yourself small. I learned to say sorry before I learned to say what I actually needed. And I am here to tell you that carrying unearned guilt for 93 years almost killed me. Not my heart or my lungs. It killed the person I was supposed to be. My parents did the best they could. My late husband, James, did not mean to silence me. My children love me. But love and harm are not opposites. You can be loved by people who slowly erase you without ever meaning to. And the person who suffers most is you. What I learned after 93 years of performing is this. The person everyone loves might not actually be you at all. You are probably exhausted from a lifetime of being pleasant when you wanted to scream. You are probably carrying guilt that was handed down like a family heirloom you never asked for. That guilt is not yours to carry. And if you die with it still on your shoulders, you will have wasted the only life you were ever going to get. Let me tell you about my mother, Essie Pearl Washington, born in 1905 in rural Alabama. Mama was brilliant, could do mathematics in her head faster than most people could write it down. But she never finished 6th grade because her family needed her in the fields. Mama had 7 children. She cooked and cleaned and worked herself to the bone. And every single day she apologized. For asking my father for grocery money, for being tired, for everything. One time in 1942, I asked her why she said sorry so much. We were shelling peas on the front porch. Mama looked at me with tired eyes and said, "Baby, a black woman who makes waves is a black woman who does not survive. You keep your head down, you say your sorries, and you make it through another day." Mama died in 1969 at 64. Her heart gave out while she was hanging laundry. At her funeral, everyone talked about how sweet she was, how accommodating. They made it sound like a virtue. But I stood there looking at her in that casket thinking, Mama never got to be angry. She never got to take up the space she deserved because she was too busy making sure everyone else was comfortable. And I realized I was walking the exact same path. I married James Earl Washington in 1951. I was 21. James was good, hard-working. He drove a delivery truck for 38 years. We had 4 children between 1952 and 1960. But inside that marriage, I was performing a role written for me before I was even born. The supportive wife, the woman who never contradicted her husband, the mother who sacrificed everything and called it love. I remember one night in 1968, Martin Luther King had just been killed. The whole country was on fire with grief and rage, and I was angry, bone deep, soul-shaking angry. I wanted to march. I wanted to scream. But James said, "Beatrice, we have 4 children. We cannot be drawing attention to ourselves. We need to stay safe." And I said what I always said, "You're right, honey." But I was not right. I just swallowed my rage the way I had been taught to swallow everything else. You may think this is just how it was back then. Maybe. My friend Josephine Turner got married in 1949. 3 children. But when her husband said she could not go back to work, Josephine said, "I am going back, and you can support that or not." Josephine worked as a nurse for 32 years. She had her own money, her own identity. Josephine is 91 now. Her husband passed in 2005, and she is still herself. She did not spend 40 years performing. She spent 40 years living her actual life. What finally broke me happened on my 93rd birthday. My son Daniel was visiting from Atlanta. He is 64 now, a grandfather himself. He was telling me about a fight with his wife. He said, "Mama, Carla wants to go on vacation by herself. Just her and her girlfriends for a week." I told her that is not how marriage works. You compromise. I looked at my son and heard my mother's voice coming out of his mouth. Generations of women who taught their sons that a woman's purpose was to shrink. I said, "Daniel, when is the last time you asked what Carla needs?" He looked confused. "I provide for her, Mama. I am a good husband." And something inside me finally snapped. I said, "Baby, your father was a good husband too." And I spent 47 years making myself smaller until I forgot I was supposed to take up space at all. Daniel stared at me. He had never heard me talk like that. I said, "I loved your father, but I was so busy being the wife he needed that I never got to be the woman I was. And I taught you boys that women are supposed to do that. I was wrong." That conversation changed everything. The performance I had been giving for 93 years was not just hurting me. It was teaching the next generation to continue the cycle. After that conversation, I started paying attention to all the ways I still apologized for existing. I said sorry when someone bumped into me. I said sorry when I had preferences about dinner. So I stopped. Just stopped. The first time felt like jumping off a cliff. My granddaughter Asia asked me to babysit on a Thursday. I had book club. I said, "No, honey, I have plans." She said, "Can you move them?" And I said, "I could, but I'm not going to." The silence was deafening, but I did not fill it with apologies. Asia said, "Okay, Grandma," in this tight voice. I knew she was upset. But she got over it. She found another babysitter. The world kept spinning. I am 93 years old. I have been practicing radical honesty since my birthday. And I am not going to lie to you and say everyone loves this version of me. Some people in my family think I have gotten difficult. My daughter-in-law barely speaks to me anymore because I told her I did not want to host Thanksgiving this year. My oldest son gets uncomfortable when I talk about the past with honesty instead of nostalgia. But here is what is different now. I am not performing anymore. When I say something, it is actually what I think. When I show up somewhere, it is because I want to be there, not because I am afraid of what people will say if I do not come. I have also discovered something beautiful. The people who actually see me, who actually want to know the real Beatrice, instead of the performance I used to give. Those people have gotten closer. My youngest daughter Sharon calls me more now than she ever did before. She says it is because she finally feels like she is talking to her mother instead of a saint she could never measure up to. My friend Claudette, who is 89, told me last month that she has started doing the same thing. She said, "Beatrice, watching you stop apologizing for breathing gave me permission to do the same." I am 93 years old. I do not know how much time I have left. Could be days, could be years. But I know that however much time remains, I am going to spend it being the person I actually am, not the person I was taught to perform. You sitting there right now, you probably think it is too late for you. You probably think you have been playing the role for so long that you do not even know who you are underneath it. You probably think that changing now would cause too much disruption, hurt too many feelings, make you seem selfish or difficult or ungrateful. Let me tell you something. The cost of continuing to perform is higher than the cost of being real. You can choose to die as yourself or die as the character you have been playing. Those are your only options. And I am telling you that dying as yourself is worth every uncomfortable conversation, every disappointed family member, every person who says you have changed. Because you know what? You have not changed. You have just stopped hiding. If I could go back to 1951 when I married James, I would tell that 21-year-old girl to love her husband, yes, but to never love him more than she loves her own voice. I would tell her that keeping the peace is not the same as keeping herself. I would tell her that the guilt her mother handed her was not hers to carry. But I cannot go back. None of us can. All we have is right now, this moment, this choice. So I am asking you to do something radical. Stop reading this and ask yourself, when is the last time I said what I actually thought instead of what would keep the peace? When is the last time I chose my own comfort over someone else's convenience? When is the last time I existed without apologizing for it? If you cannot remember, or if the silence that follows that question is too heavy, then you know exactly what I am talking about. You have been performing too. And that performance is killing the person you were supposed to be. Do not wait until you are 93. Do not wait until you have spent your whole life shrinking. Start taking up space today. Start saying what you mean. Start existing without apology. Because the truth is the only currency that matters at the end of your life. And self-betrayal is the one thing you cannot undo once your time runs out. I have said what I came here to say. My coffee is cold now, and I have a book waiting for me, one I chose because I wanted to read it. If what I shared today made you feel something, made you recognize yourself in my story, leave a comment below. Tell me what you have been apologizing for that you should not have to apologize for. Tell me what performance you are ready to retire. And if you know someone who has been shrinking themselves for decades, someone who needs permission to finally take up space, share this with them. Sometimes we need permission to put ourselves first. Consider this that permission. Now I am going to go sit on my porch and speak my mind to whoever asks, because at 93, I have finally learned that my voice matters just as much as anyone else's. Take up your space. You have earned it just by being born.